The title of this video may sound a bit clickbaity, but actually it's not. It's technically true. Other automakers are secretly giving Tesla billions of dollars. In fact, Tesla has now made more than $10 billion, primarily from the sales of carbon credits to other automakers. Most of those automakers have been keeping this a secret. They've been quiet about this. They really do not want to disclose the fact that they are paying Tesla to sell electric cars. Tesla is still making billions of dollars doing nothing, as in nothing. Tesla is getting paid to make electric cars by other automakers who don't want to make electric cars. Now, guys, this is a pretty serious issue. I mean, Tesla has made, seriously, around $10 billion selling regulatory credits. In other words, automakers have given Tesla around $10 billion over the last 6 years. That's insane. Now, if it was profitable for these other automakers to manufacture EVs and sell them, they would be, because none of them like doing this. In fact, Stellantis and other automakers have complained. The Volkswagen Group have said they hate giving Tesla this money. And Stellantis are saying that this year they're going to make more EVs so that they don't have to keep paying Tesla, but they still are. They still are. Tesla is actually making record amounts of profit by selling regulatory credits to other automakers. Now, analysts and journalists said 4 years ago, and even 3 years ago as well, that this would stop, this would slow down, Tesla's rivals would make more EVs, and Tesla wouldn't be getting any of this money. But it hasn't. In fact, those analysts should be fired from their jobs because it was so obvious. I mean, myself and many others have predicted that this would not just suddenly stop like these so-called expert journalists and analysts claimed it would. But in fact, the amount of money that Tesla made would increase. And it has been. Here are the numbers. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to have you with us. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Thanks for your support on Patreon. And as YouTube members now, obviously I do rely on this channel to support myself. So I really appreciate your support as a Patreon supporter or as a YouTube member. If you want to support us, I'll put a link to our Patreon and YouTube member page in the description below. Now, if you don't want to actually know the details behind this, I'll give you the quick numbers here. In 2015, Tesla made $0 selling carbon credits. In 2016, Tesla made $300 million. In 2017, Tesla made $360 million. In 2018, Tesla made $420 million. Now, it was about this point in time when these analysts started saying, don't buy Tesla stock, it's overpriced because Tesla, these carbon credits, they're the only reason Tesla is making any money. Now, that was true at the time. But what analysts said, they said these carbon credits would dry up. The exact opposite happened. Now, maybe these so-called analysts were really shorts who were, trying to profit from Tesla's price collapse. Anyhow, the following year, Tesla made a record $600 million from doing nothing. The year after that, in 2020, Tesla made $1.6 billion. The following year, Tesla made $1.46 billion, a little bit less. Then, in 2022, Tesla made a record $1.8 billion selling carbon credits. In 2023, it was $1.8 billion again. Now, this year, Tesla will make a record amount of profit by selling carbon credits. Don't get me wrong, Tesla's profits certainly come from a lot more than selling carbon credits. They make a profit on every electric car that they sell. Well, aside from the Model S and the Model X, but we know they now profit making the Cybertruck, selling the Cybertruck, and of course the Model 3 and the Model Y. And they actually have more than $30 billion cash on hand. However, so far this year, Tesla have clearly made an insane amount of money, which we've never seen before selling regulatory credits, because in just 2 quarters, they nearly equaled their record for last year. In the second quarter of this year, Tesla made $740 million from regulatory credits. That's in a single 3-month period, $740 million. Now, to correct what I just said, I meant to say the third quarter. So I'm sorry, the third quarter of this year, $740 million. In the second quarter of this year, Tesla actually made a lot more than that. They made $890 million from regulatory credits. So in other words, Tesla has actually made more than $2 billion from the sales of regulatory credits to their rivals over the first 3 quarters, the first 9 months of this year. So they've already beaten last year's record easily after only 9 months of the year. Tesla's on track to make more than $2.5 billion this year from the sales of carbon credits. Now, Tesla actually made $18.8 billion from automotive sales and $450 million from automotive leasing. So yeah, that's really the majority of where Tesla's revenue is coming from. Now, of course, those automotive sales weren't pure profit. Carbon credits, though, they are pure profit. Now, the truth is other automakers could actually pretty easily sell enough electric cars to hit their carbon credit requirements. They only need to sell around 10%. 10%. I mean, honestly, that's a piece of piss. 1 in 10 cars need to be electric for them to really hit their requirements. That's about the average. Those are not exact numbers, but average. And the truth is, automakers are really not getting anywhere near that, as you can see. record profits going to Tesla. At the same time that Tesla is making record profits, not just on EVs, but also carbon credits, its rivals are making less than ever. The Hyundai Group, actually their profits have sunk to around 8% on automotive gross margin, which is about half of what Tesla makes on its automotive gross margin. The same thing with the Volkswagen Group. Their profits have been actually the lowest that they've been in many, many years. So even as Tesla was achieving its best third quarter for vehicle sales in its history, it was making bank big time just for making and selling electric cars worldwide. Now, if you don't understand this industry, that's understandable. But to start at the beginning for Tesla, 1 year after the release of the Tesla Roadster, Tesla began selling carbon credits to various automakers. While Tesla enjoyed high profits as the pioneer of EVs, the balance in the carbon credit market is about to change, says globalfleet.com in March of this year. Tesla is no longer the top all-electric producer, and major automakers are changing their strategy from just buying time to updating their zero-emission strategies. Now, globalfleet.com, you can forgive them for getting this wrong. Of course, Tesla does still actually sell more electric cars than BYD. Purely electric cars. But plug-in hybrids actually qualify for carbon credits as well. So it's true that BYD could potentially be making carbon credit sales from rivals in Europe. In other words, Europe is kind of giving money to Chinese companies. Selling carbon credits has always been a lucrative business for Tesla. In the fourth quarter of 2020, according to CNBC, Tesla generated $270 million in net income by selling $401 million in regulatory credits. In Q1 2021, Tesla generated $518 million from selling regulatory credits. In Q1 of 2021, they generated $518 million in a single quarter. Profits continued to grow though. According to Tesla's financial reports, revenue generated for carbon credits was $1.5 billion for fiscal year 2021, representing 3% of the brand's total revenue. Revenue peaked in 2023, hitting $1.8 billion according to the brand's Q4 2023 report. Tesla therefore has generated now around $10 billion from selling carbon credits to other electric vehicle manufacturers since 2009. However, like I said, whilst last year was a great one at $1.8 billion, this year Tesla's on track to hit around $2.5 billion. Having a close look at the Q3 2023 figures from Tesla shows us exactly how profitable selling carbon credits actually is. In that quarter, Tesla generated $554 million from selling carbon credits, representing 29% of the company's net income. Carbon credit revenue actually jumped by 94% in that quarter year on year. So things are changing in the carbon credit market. And in fact, carbon credits are becoming more profitable than they used to be. So what is a carbon credit? Well, also known as a carbon emissions credit, the price of carbon credit differs according to geography and under different emission standards. For instance, the carbon emissions standard in the European Union was 130 grams of CO2 per kilometre between 2015 and 2019, with 95 euros for each excessive gram of emissions. 95 euros for a single gram of excessive emissions, that's actually a lot of money. Suppose the newly sold EV has a lower carbon emission than the EU standard. In that case, the deficit equals carbon emissions credit, which could be sold to manufacturers who could not meet the emissions standard. In other words, because Tesla well exceeds its emissions standards, it gets these credits for free, essentially, which it then sells to automakers who are polluting. And when I say polluting, I mean they're polluting more than what their fair share is. So the logic behind this is that carbon credit market helps other auto manufacturers offset carbon emissions by developing carbon reduction technologies, primarily renewable energy production. Renewable energy investment is crucial as the manufacturing process of today's EVs does still heavily depend on energy from fossil fuels, which are responsible for a large sum of emissions. What this means is that if you manufacture your vehicles using renewable energy, you will actually be able to potentially get carbon credits for that, which can offset some of the pollution from your actual vehicles. So this is not actually just about EV production or car production in general. Buying carbon credits helps automakers comply with regulations and continue their investments in electrification to benefit from these credits. But like Ford and General Motors, are all automakers able to focus on greener technologies in the space offered by carbon credits, or is it just buying time with no progress? Well, whilst this technically doesn't help automakers who are lagging in EV sales, it helps actually kind of incentivize them to make more EVs. From the North American perspective, the US giants had their ups and downs with ambitious zero emissions goals, but they faced setbacks in manufacturing EVs. And Ford announced that it would cut its EV investments by $12 billion in October of 2023. General Motors scaled back its EV plans following talks with the United Auto Workers Union, or the UAW, after reaching a new labor deal. Now, the truth is that General Motors and Ford, therefore, will actually potentially continue to have to pay for carbon credits from companies like Tesla. Now, the reason for this is that if you emit too much pollution, you have to pay fines. You either pay a fine or you purchase credits from Tesla or other automakers, potentially. Now, whilst Ford generated massive profits in 2023 selling internal combustion engine vehicles, the company's EV segment reported a $4.5 billion loss. General Motors, actually, they don't profit selling EVs either. They just don't tell us how much they lose on every electric car they sell. In Europe, several automakers have faced a slowing down in their numbers of electric cars that they plan on selling. That includes the Volkswagen Group, which delayed construction of a fourth EV battery plant and is actually slowing down its EV sales intentionally because it loses too much money on the sale of every vehicle. The German giant plans to open 6 new gigafactories in North America and Europe, though, by the end of 2030. Just, not now. At the beginning of 2024, Volkswagen announced the postponement of the mass production of the $25,000 ID2 by 1 year, starting in May 2026 due to adjustments for the Euro 7 standards, which come into effect in July of 2025. In other words, after the emission standards were kind of relaxed a little bit, the Volkswagen Group said, well, we were going to make a profit on that car, so let's just sort of postpone that a little bit further. The reason? The Volkswagen Group are under immense financial pressure. Now, I should point out, carbon credits don't just come from electric cars. They also come from other things like battery deployment. So manufacturing EVs matters, but deploying energy storage or batteries at scale actually gives you carbon credits as well. Now, of course, this is what Tesla does, so you can see really why Tesla makes so much money doing this. Tesla's energy storage division has grown enormously over the last few years. While many EV and battery projects have faced delays and setbacks, Tesla's leading EV battery products called the Powerwall, which is obviously for residential use, and Megapacks have been selling at record levels. In 2023, Tesla deployed 14.7 gigawatt hours of energy storage and tripled its revenues in its energy division versus 2020, totaling $6 billion in 2023 from generation and storage. But this year, Tesla's energy business is growing much, much faster. Therefore, of course, its revenues from carbon credits are continuing to speed up. Now, some more cynical analysts they've said that, well, Tesla's just selling more batteries because they get more carbon credits. But it's not true, because really Tesla's actually making a profit on its energy division. So it makes sense for Tesla to manufacture these batteries and sell them regardless of whether or not it gets carbon credits. That's really just a nice bonus. Now, interestingly, analysts have continued to say that Tesla's revenues and profits from carbon credits would slow down. However, this narrative was almost enforced by Tesla's former CFO, or Chief Financial Officer, Zachary Kirkhorn, who warned investors in 2020 about relying on carbon credits and said that the revenue stream will not last forever and will actually begin to reduce. Well, that actually didn't happen. That said, one of Tesla's biggest bulls, Michael Burry, who put a long put option against 800,000 Tesla shares in Q1 2021, making over $500 million on that gamble, said this: Tesla's reliance on regulatory credits to generate profits is an advantage as well as an impediment to the brand's long-term goals. Interestingly, he, for some reason, later deleted that tweet. Who is buying Tesla's carbon credits? Well, most of them aren't known. They don't want you to know who they are. Not very transparent, is it? Automakers really in their financials should be telling you, oh yeah, we purchased carbon credits from Tesla, but they try to hide this information. We do know that Chrysler, though, has bought more than $2.4 billion worth of credits as of 2022. We also know that brand is struggling as well. According to Reuters, another company that bought around 2 billion euros of European and US regulatory credits from Tesla between 2019 and 2021 was believed to be the Volkswagen Group. Now, we don't know if that's true, but figures provided by Stellantis present sort of a bigger picture of what's really going on here. Emmanuel Houry, Carbon Net Zero Worldwide Purchasing Manager at Stellantis, said this: each part in an EV contributes to carbon emissions. Marcella Arambide, Carbon Net Zero Engineering Manager, said this: batteries, steel, and aluminium represent around 70% of EVs emissions alone, and that getting everyone on board to meet the carbon reduction goals is a monumental task for all EV manufacturers. Stellantis has 14 different automotive brands, and it aims to reduce CO2 emissions in its EV parts by 40% by 2030 compared to 2021 levels. How are they doing this? Well, for one, companies are starting to use more recycled products. That helps to keep emissions down. Tesla will continue to receive billions of dollars of revenue from other automakers until at least the mid-2020s, when it's expected that EVs will gain wider growth and therefore automakers will be having to pay Tesla less money. Under the Fit for 55 package, the EU aims to reduce passenger and commercial fleet emissions to 0 grams of CO2 per kilometre from 2035. So in theory, Tesla would actually stop making carbon emission sales in Europe on cars in 2035, but it would still get regulatory credits from its massive battery division deployments. So Tesla's carbon credit sales may go down, but they certainly won't be eliminated by other manufacturers making more electric cars. Under the Inflation Reduction Act, introduced in 2022, the US aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030. The UK aims to eliminate GHG emissions by 2050 under their 2021 net zero strategy. Even though delayed by 5 years, selling new petrol and diesel cars will be banned by 2035 in Europe, the UK, and many other countries. Now, China is another crucial market for Tesla to benefit from selling carbon credits. According to Reuters, the joint venture formed by Volkswagen and the local FAW group actually bought green credits from Tesla, according to Chinese media. Tesla was expected to generate around $390 million in 2021 by selling carbon credits to Chinese EV manufacturers. Now, who were those companies that bought those credits? We don't really know. Most likely they were actually legacy automakers who sell vehicles in China. Meaning they could have been Ford, General Motors, the Volkswagen Group, Toyota, or anyone else. Those companies, they just don't want you to know that they're paying Tesla. Now, of course, manufacturers of vehicles worldwide will eventually require fewer carbon credits from Tesla. So Tesla's sales of carbon credits from other automakers will go down. But Tesla's growth in carbon credits could actually offset their losses in terms of other manufacturers paying them, other car manufacturers paying them. What do I mean by that? Well, Tesla is also competing against utilities, as in, grid scale utilities, coal power plants, gas power plants of any kind. So what that means is that Tesla, as they continue to deploy more and more batteries, their energy division is growing much faster than their EV division, their car division, then their actual regulatory credits could grow even if other automakers pay them less, because they will be able to sell these carbon credits to the fossil fuel industry, manufacturing, of course, all kinds of things. And also, like I said, power plants. So we don't actually know exactly how many carbon credits Tesla will or won't be able to sell in 2030, but we do know for a fact that Tesla will continue over the next few years to make billions of dollars from its rivals by the sales of regulatory carbon credits. This is just free income. And it's quite amazing that other automakers continue to do this, to continue to actually refuse to sell more electric cars, because actually, when you think about it, in the long run, it would benefit them. Thanks for watching.